I wondered, I said, is it possible that again, lightning doesn't, actually, it's more likely that lightning strikes.
It's all right, give it over to Jeff. I can tell you what I can. I can read out of this.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we're going to start Samachay 65. A. 65A. A.
I thought you were saying, hey, but I said, I heard you were saying 65.
Okay, the Gemara here is talking about the
We expect you more frequently.
Son, my son,
Okay,
it's okay. I'll take it.
we like you.
we're learning about what a child is allowed to do, what a child can accomplish. He can be kind of. What age can he be kind of? What age can he be makna? Can he acquire for someone else? Okay, so it goes like this. We're going to learn in the next Mishnah that they can't make a shliach, but especially if they can acquire on someone else's behalf. The example that we gave so far was that if someone wants to make a shitufei mavayis, which is a type of eruv, so he has to give a certain amount of food on behalf of everyone that lives there. So if he gives it to a child, the child, we said it can't be a child, but we mentioned that it could be a shifcha. We said, how do you get a shifcha? Shifcha means a Amma Evriya, Jewish maidservant. How do you get Amma Evriya? She has to be, of course, a child, because once she reaches maturity, then she goes free. So we said, it's not a big question because Shitufei Mavayis is older Rabbanan, so because of the rabbinic laws, so we were more lenient about it. Okay, that's what we're holding so far. Okay, we're going to start now. Masav Rababi, it's 4 lines from the top in Samachay. Mariman al Ma'aser Sheni. The rule with Ma'aser Sheni is that if you redeem your own Ma'aser Sheni is the produce, that the tithe that needs to be taken to Yerushalayim. But it's hard to schlep all the produce to Yerushalayim. So what you do is you redeem it for money. And the money you could take in a little satchel and you spend it on food in Yerushalayim when you're there. So the only thing is that when you redeem the Ma'aser Sheni, a credit card. When you redeem the Ma'aser Sheni, you have to add an extra fifth if it's your own Ma'aser Sheni. But if you redeem someone else's Ma'aser Sheni, then you don't have to add a fifth. The Mishnah over here says that you're allowed to do a trick. Make believe that someone else is redeeming your Ma'aser Sheni. How do you do that? Ketzad. How does that work? A person can tell his son or his daughter that are mature already, or to his slave, or to his maidservant that are Jewish. Here's some money. Here's this money. Do Ma'aser Sheni and redeem this Ma'aser Sheni. Now the truth is that because these children are still seimech al shulchanai, they still eat from his table, but they're also independent people because they're also mature. So when they redeem it, it's considered like they're redeeming it on their own, but ultimately it comes back to him. This is like a trick where he gets someone else to redeem his Ma'aser Sheni. When it comes back to him, they don't have to pay the extra fee. The Gemara, one of the cases that we mentioned over here was a shifcha, was a maidservant, where it says, "Hi shifcha, hechidami." What are we talking about? A shifcha, maid. How do you get a maidservant? Ida isa the isay beisaris. If probably isa will go. If there is, not her. If there is, if there is 2 years, I mean she's reached maturity. My boy Gabe, what she's doing by the master, she's supposed to have been free already. It must be that she hasn't reached maturity. You don't have the 2 years. You don't have the 2 years. That means she's a child. it means she's a child and she's still able to acquire on behalf of someone else. The Kasha and Shmuel. He said before that he can only acquire for himself and not acquire for someone else. Now, why is this for someone else? I guess because they give it back to the father. Ramar says, don't ask such a big question about this. This is all rabbinic laws, and rabbinic laws work differently. And that's why we can be lenient. We can have a child doing this, and it's going to work. Ramar says, what do you mean? He told me that it's Meiser Bismanazeh. It's Meiser nowadays, and that's why we're going to be lenient, because it's rabbinic. Because Meiser nowadays is rabbinic. This is 1 second. If it's nowadays, then how do you have a maidservant nowadays? We don't have slavery nowadays. But Tanya ain't ever different. We only had Jewish slaves in the time of the Jubilee. The Gemara learns that it says that at the time of the Jubilee, each man returns to his family. It means that the slaves also return at the Jubilee, which means that it was only when we have a Jubilee that we have the slaves returning. That we have slaves at all. Gemara says, Ella ba'atzit enough of the Rabbana. We're talking about Meiser because it grew in a flower pot that didn't have a hole in the bottom. And that's why it was rabbinic. Okay, we had different options of how to get this into rabbinic law. We got it into rabbinic law not because it's nowadays, we got into rabbinic law because it was in a flower pot. Okay. Amar Rava. Rava says, Gimel Midais Bekatan. There are 3 levels of a child and what a child can accomplish. If there's a child that's the age when he sees a pebble, he throws it away. But when he sees a walnut, he keeps it. He can acquire on his own behalf, but I can't acquire on behalf of anyone else. So he has enough ability to acquire for himself because he knows to keep the walnuts and throw away the pebbles. And corresponding to this would be a girl that is miskadeshes lamian, that she is married enough that if she wants to get divorced, she would require mian. Now, mian is not much of a requirement. She basically just rejects her husband. But somehow she's old enough that this is required. I'm not sure exactly what exactly is the mian, more than walking out, that we say that, that's required. Apuutais, a little bit older. In other words, younger than this, they don't even need mian, because it's not even a marriage that requires mian. I guess that would mean that even if she doesn't walk out, she's still not married. That's what it must mean. Talking about not getting married by the father, getting married by the brothers and the mother marrying her off. The father can marry her off now. But we're talking about the father passed away. There's no father. It's just the mothers and the brothers. Can they marry her off? Well, if she's a certain age, they can marry her off. If she's younger than that, it's not even a marriage. Apuutais. This is youngsters. This is from 6 or 8. Rashi says. I don't know how they came up with that. What happened to 7? Mekha and Mekach. The sale is good. They can make the sale. Memkar and Memkar b'metalton, and they can also buy. They can Mekhan. No, their purchases are purchases, and their sales are sales. When it comes to movable objects, personality, connect and Biktana, corresponding to this would be a young girl, that she could get divorced even though her father married her off. That means that even though it's a biblical level marriage, but she can still get a get. She's old enough to receive a get. How does she receive the get? Shouldn't her father receive the get? Talking about the father died. Let's say she reaches age, he reaches age 12. She reaches age 11. It's 1 year before Bar Bas Mitzvah. The Dreim Neder Hekdesh Hekdesh. If they take a vow, it's considered a vow. If they say something is consecrated, it's considered consecrated. So connect then, corresponding to this by the girl, Biktana Chayletzes. She would need to do Chalitza. In other words, if she was married and when would she need chalitza? She's married, and what does she want to do? She wants to do miyan. Her husband dies. She has to marry the brother, but she can't marry the brother. Why can't she marry the brother? I guess what I'm not sure, but whatever the case is, she's old enough to do chalitza. That's what it would be. She's old enough. So you have to be a certain age to be able to do chalitza. So she's old enough to do chalitza. She's already 11 years old. And I love when it does this. It says there's 3 types of children, and it lists 4. So remember that? 3 types of people, those that know how to count and those that don't, right? So anyway, we have a 4th level here, and that is someone that's 20 years old, that he can sell his father's property. Before under 20, even though he's considered an adult and bar mitzvah and all of that, but he can't sell property because that takes much more maturity to sell property. He's talking about the father passed away and he's going to make a sale on the inheritance and all of that. We don't allow that until he's 20. Okay, we have a new Mishnah. Ketana Shamra, young girl that said, Eskabali Giti. That means that she made a shliach to receive the get for her. It's called the shliach lekabala, an agent that would act on her behalf. Ain't a get. That doesn't work. Get liyada. The get has to actually reach your hand. Why doesn't it work? The rule is because a ketana cannot make a shliach. She's not old enough to make a shliach. She can't appoint anyone to do something on her behalf. Lefikach, therefore, if the husband wants to retract before the get reaches her hands, because he only gave it to the shliach, it didn't reach her yet. Yaksar, the husband can retract and say, I'm not divorcing him. Because a child cannot make a shliach. But if her father says to a shliach, go and receive a get on behalf of my daughter. Now a father can receive a get for his daughter, right? So he can make a shliach also to receive a get. So then, if the shliach already received the get, he can't retract because the shliach received the get. It's too late.
If the husband sent the shliach that would work. The shliach would go to her.
The husband sent the shliach la'ilach, yeah, but here he's making a shliach le'kabbalah. No, I'm sorry. The father is making a shliach le'kabbalah. The husband can make a shliach la'ilach, yeah. Father made a shliach le'kabbalah. Okay, ha'imar, someone that says 10 gets el ishti b'makom plani. He's getting very specific over here. Give the get to my wife in such and such a place. Shliach went and gave it to her somewhere else. Possible. It's not a good get. He was very specific, and that was his wishes, and he had a stipulation to the get. I don't only want the get given in such a place. He didn't do it as possible. Let's say he didn't say, I want you to give the get to my wife in such and such a place. He says, give the get to my wife. She is in such and such a place. They didn't say to give it to her. It was just referencing where to find her. We're not and he gave it somewhere else. It's kosher, that's fine. Happened to find her somewhere else. Said, where is she usually? She's in the mall. Turns out she was in the parking lot. She wasn't in the mall. Okay. A woman that says, you received from me my get in such and such a place. Where's the husband? At Mincha Ma'ariv. Says, go and receive the get from me in such and such a place. This is making a shliach le'kabbalah. The kibbutz b'makom acher, and the fellow went and received the get, not in by Mincha Ma'ariv, not in the shul. Right? Trying to get it outside the public. So possible. That's not good because she had a stipulation of how he's supposed to be the messenger. Rabbi Eliezer or Rabbi Lazar. How do you have it over there? Eliezer or Lazar? You have a Lazar? I have Sefer Hamar, maybe. Isa Eliezer, the Mishnah Kamar. It may be Rabbi Eliezer. Yeah. The parentheses in the Maseres Shas from a scholar, Rabbi Shaya Pitt, named Rabbi Shaya Berlin. Not from the original Maseres Shas. Maseres Shas is his name was, who's the one who owns Aspaklaya?
Who owns Aspaklaya?
Yeah.
Mendy Boaz.
What's his name?
Mendy Boaz.
Mendy Boaz. It's the author of the Maseres Shas. His name is Bishua Boaz. Yeah. I was like Rose. Okay. So anyway, but the it's a son, Moshe's son-in-law.
I thought you said Mesilas Yesharim.
No, not Mesilas Yesharim. Okay. I should remember. Okay. Isha Shemers. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer, or Rabbi Eliezer Machshir. He says that a woman that makes this sort of stipulation doesn't really mean it, and it's fine. You have a Eliezer. Yeah, Rabbi Eliezer is 2 generations later than Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is a friend of Rabbi Yeshua, who's a student of Rabbi Yechim ben Zakkai. Rabbi Eliezer is a student of Rabbi Akiva, who's a student of Rabbi Eliezer.
There's no nikudos.
Yeah, but the yud would make the difference. Yeah, the yud if it's Eliezer or Elazar, the yud would change it.
There's 2 Elazars, right? There's students of Rabbi Akiva.
There's a Rabbi Elazar that's the student of Rabbi Akiva, and then there's a Rabbi Elazar in the Gemara that's Rabbi Elazar ben Padas. He's a friend and student of Rabbi Yechanan. Right. So you have to see if it's in a Mishnah, then it's a student of Rabbi Akiva.
They have here, sorry, I remember, is Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua.
That's Rabbi Elazar. That's the one that's here.
We're talking about.
Yeah.
And then who's Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov?
Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov would always say Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. It always uses his last name. Yeah. Rabbi Elazar ben Ara is almost never in the Mishnah. I would always say ben Ara. Yeah, it's in Abbas, yeah. But otherwise, you just have a few stories. It's very uncommon. Maybe because he went on vacation. The Gemara says he went on vacation. He got his learning. Okay. Okay, we did that. Bring my gets from such and such a place. They brought it from a different place. That's not a problem. Because that wasn't the transaction right there. That wasn't the transfer of the get. That was just get the guy to give it to you and then bring it to me. But so whenever she gets it, that's when the divorce takes place. There wasn't any stipulation on something that wasn't relevant. That's where exactly that shliach is bringing it from. That doesn't matter. It's only when there's actual transfer of the get that would have been a stipulation. Okay. Gemara says, Rabbi Elazar, Maishna Reisha D'lei Polig, Maishna Sefer the Polig. Okay, the Reisha was, the beginning it says, 10 get zel ishti. Give this get to my wife in such and such a place. The rule is that if it was given in a different place, when the husband sends a messenger and it was given in a different place, the rule is that it's invalid. When the wife says, receive my get in such a place, it's not valid. And Rabbi Elazar argues. What happened to Rabbi Elazar in the first case when the husband made it? Why didn't he argue over there that it's kosher? Why only when the wife? What does he have against? No. Okay. So, Maishta Sefer the Polik, the Gemara says, "Iyu the midaita megarish kapit." The thing is like this. Rabbi Elazar is saying that I agree with you. Since the husband divorces his wife whenever he wants, he can divorce her against her will. So then if he makes a stipulation, then he really means it. But the wife, the Balkarcha Miskareshes, she gets divorced against her will. She doesn't say when she wants to get divorced, and she doesn't say if she doesn't want to get divorced. It's all against her will. So Mara Makamiblai, obviously, she's not making a stipulation on the divorce when she's sending a messenger to receive the get, it's like beggars can't be choosy. If the husband's giving her the get, she's just going to get the get and take it because she doesn't have. Oh, thank you.
I want to take care. I would not drink in front of you with. I know you must be thirsty, so I wouldn't take a drink if you would not have a drink. Like just like I wouldn't eat if you don't have food.
Is this a hint to someone? Enjoy.
No, that was for you.
Oh, okay. Next Mishnah. Havali Giti. If a woman says, "Bring to me my get," well, that's not enough. She's not divorced yet. We're talking about over here. She's the wife of a Kohen, so she's a Yisraelit. She should not be eating truma, but she's married to a Kohen, so she can eat truma. Yeah.
What if the wife doesn't want to receive a get? Can the husband just give it to her? She
Yeah.
have to act as her.
No, the husband can throw it at her.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's why it's important you can throw.
So you get thrown the book. They throw the book at you. The book of divorce.
Is this fun?
How do you think?
Talk about
How do you think paper
We
airplanes?
did Balkarcha. She gets divorced. This Gemara itself says Ihi the Balkarcha miskareshes. She gets divorced against her will. Yeah, well, the big deal. You're right. We didn't talk about the throwing the get into her property and all of that's coming up in 10 pages. Okay. So because she's not divorced yet, she just had a messenger go and bring the get to her, but it didn't reach her yet. So she can still eat truma because she's still a regular married woman. She's still wearing her wedding ring. She can eat truma. Let's say she used a different expression, which means that she made a different type of agent. She made an agent the Kabbalah to receive the get for her. Then it's an agent acting on her behalf. She's immediately forbidden to eat truma because she's divorced immediately. Okay, now this is getting interesting.
Maybe she's divorcing. We assume because it could happen in a second that we know.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's not with divorce.
right. Right when he leaves her presence, it's already considered that we don't know what happened. So, as far as truma, okay. Yeah, we have to be strict about the truma.
She can't get money.
She can't get married yet until she can prove that. Let's say she says, "Receive the get for me in such and such a place." She could eat truma until the get reaches that place, because she wants the get to be received in that place. The get wasn't there yet. It's only when the get is there will it be that possibly she's divorced, and therefore she has to be strict about eating truma. Rabbi Lesser forbids right away, and this Rabbi Lesser would fit perfectly. It says Rabbi Lesser.
Well,
I don't know. I have
it's
very
shallow.
shallow.
But that's what the Messiah Shas was saying. The next mission says Rabbi.
No, the Messiah Shas is saying that the same problem that I have with the first one, that I don't think it's Rebbe Lezer. I think it's Rebbe Lezer. I'm going to edit them both. He's doing one edit for both of them. So basically, it's the same opinion where Rebbe Lezer says that when a woman makes a stipulation, she doesn't really mean it. That's a stipulation. She's just trying to make it easier. They elaborate that. You'll find them over here, over there, over there. She's just telling the shliach where to find them. The Gita Miyahavid. The Gemara is an interesting question. The Gemara says that if she says, "Receive my get in such and such a place," so she's still allowed to eat truma. However, but let's say the shliach actually received the get in a different place. So we say, well, until that happens, until we know that, she could still eat truma. But the get is going to be a good get. The problem is, why is it a good get? It shouldn't be a good get. According to the Tanakama, when she makes a stipulation, it should not be a good get. You're just telling me about the truma that until the get reaches that place. But it sounds like that if she receives the get in a different place, if the shliach receives the get in a different place, the get would be valid. And we said before that her stipulation is serious according to the Tanakh. Where it says she added another phrase. She said, "Received my get in Masamachsia." Masamachsia is a city in the south of Iraq, which is the city where Rav Ashi was. And she says, "Received my get in that city. However, sometimes you'll find my husband in Bavel. Bavel is a little bit more north. There's Bavel the country and Bavel the city." Remember the Mendy and the Golem? It said, Mendy, how do you spell New York? It said, the city of the state. The city of the state. Okay. So Bavel, the city of the state, right? Bavel is. Okay. Really, what she's saying to him is the following. You should take the get from wherever you can find him. However, but I still only want it to take effect when it reaches Masamasi. So what's going on is like this. But we said that the get would be valid, but she can't eat truma until the get reaches that place. But why is the get valid? If she wants to be divorced only in that place, then that was a real stipulation according to the Tanakh. It shouldn't be valid at all. I said, no, that wasn't our issue. Our issue was that it's as if she said, like, the get should take effect only at a certain time. So she said the get should take effect only when it reaches that place. But it wasn't a stipulation on where the get needs to be received. Okay. Rabbi Lezer Miyad. Rabbi Lezer says,
Excuse me. So that means she can accept a get in a foreign place? A shliach on her behalf could accept a get in a foreign place and she has no actual contact or knowledge?
Shliach receives the get in a place. She made the shliach to receive the get. And when she finds out all of that information, then she could get married.
So but she still has to get the get somehow or some information.
No, she actually doesn't need the get. She can just needs to be aware of that took place. But over here, she gave one other detail that she doesn't want the get to take effect until the shliach reaches a certain place. Okay. Rabbi Lezer says that as soon as the shliach leaves her presence, she's immediately asur in truma, even though she gave us she set a place where she wants to get to take effect. Even though Gemara says Pshita, Shamar Makami, like Rabbi Lezer holds that a woman doesn't make a stipulation. A woman, because Rabbi Lezer's view was that because a woman is not the one in charge of the get, because she could get divorced against her will, and she can't force a divorce on her husband. So she's beggars can't be choosy. So she would never make a stipulation. She just gets the get whenever it is. So if she says, I wanted the get to be given in this place, really what she means is that you'll find my husband in that place. It doesn't really mean that I want to get to take effect in this place. So the question is, Shita, of course Rabbi Lezer would say that place is insignificant. The Maramakmilai, that's only a place and making it easier on the shliach where to find the husband. You'll always find him by Mincha Ma'ariv. Leitzricha, probably in the bar. If they're getting that's probably to make the story more realistic. At the gambling place. So Leitzricha, the Amrale Zila Mizrach, Bisa B'Mizrach V'Ka'as Al-Ma'ariv. What we're talking about over here is the husband we know is in the east, and the guy goes to the wrong place. Mao the Tain B'Marav Halessa could have thought that maybe, what are you saying, that she should be already usher now? The husband it wasn't there. The husband's somewhere else. It's in the other part of the country. So But Kamash Malan, it comes to the Chiddush is that Dilma Bahadi the Kaazal Megas Gaius Beviav Legita. Maybe while they were going, Megas Gaius means that he meets. I don't know what the root for that is. Rashi tells me it means Pagev, like Megas Gaius. I thought it meant stir. It sounded like stir. But apparently it means he meets. Does any comment on the word? Do they comment on that word? Megas Gaius? Okay. Maybe he meets him on the way.
Because perhaps if the agent was going out of town, husband met her.
Yeah, they don't explain that word megas guy.
No,
I'm not familiar with that being used that way, but okay. Someone says to his messenger, Ariv li bitmarim. He's telling him how to make an Erev. He says, make an Erev with dates. We're talking about an Erev Tchumen here. Before we were talking about an Erev Chatzeres or Shitufim Mevais. Now an Erev Tchumen, which means that he wants to go outside the city 2,000 amas, but he doesn't want to do the wait there by Bein Hashmashos to be able to, for that to be his home, and that he can continue walking 2,000 amas. He sends someone else to go there. He says, put food there, and that way tomorrow that will be considered my home, and I'll be able to go walk till there and then walk another 2,000 amas afterwards. So he says, I want you to put over there dates. The Erev lay begreigers, but instead of putting dates, he put figs. Begreigers, instead of putting figs, he told them figs. Erev lay betmarm, he put dates. So what's the din? Tani Chada. One brisa says, Erev Erev. It's a valid Erev. Tani Yidach, we have another brisa. Any Erev Erev. It's not a good Erev. So Amar Rabba says, like Kasha, it's not a problem. How do you answer a contradiction? You say it's a machlekes, right? We say, like Kasha, Harabanan, Harabelazar. The Rabbanan say that a person, when he makes a stipulation, he really means it. The Rabelazar that says that he doesn't really mean stipulations, he says that he doesn't really mean it, right? So that's what's going to work according to Rabbah. Harabanan, Damrik Peda. The Rabbanan, they say that they're strict. Harabelazar, Damar Mara Makamolai. This Rabelazar that says that he was just giving a reference, which means that he was just telling him that that would work. If you want to use those, that's a good choice. Rabbi Yosef Amar, Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef are friends. Rabbi Yosef says a different shot. Both is talking about the rabbis, and therefore, really, it's a problem because the rabbis say that the stipulation is serious about it. So, how do you answer a contradiction? You say that the cases are different. Kan b'shalai, kan b'shal chaveira. It depends whose fruit it was. If it's his own fruit, then he's allowed to use whatever he wants, right? The guy was telling him what to do. Why is he telling him what to do? The shliach was using his own fruits. When do we say any ruve that it's not a good erev? When his friend told him that I allow you to use my fruits to make an erev. He didn't want him to use the figs. He didn't want him to use the dates. That's why it doesn't work. Amalei Abaya. Abaya says to Rabbi Yosef. Abaya is a student of Rabbi Yosef. Allah the Tanya. But according to this, it says in the brisa, someone says to his messenger, put the Erev in the tower, and instead of putting it in the tower, he put it in the birdhouse. Or he tells him, put it in the birdhouse. What do they call the birdhouse in the English? Dovecote?
Dovecote.
And instead he put it into the tower. The Tanya Chada Eruv Erev, the Tanya Yidach Eruv Erev. One brisa says that it is a good Erev, and one says it isn't a good Erev. Now over there, you can't answer Rabbi Yosef's answer that it was his fruit or it was the other guy's fruit. Over here, it's the location. It must be that the brisa they're talking about, that it must be that it's either a machlekes, right? It must be that it's Rabbanan or Rabbi Lazar, but you can't answer the way Rabbi Yosef answered that it depends whose fruit it is, because now we're not talking about fruit. It says that's the elaborating on the question. It says you didn't understand it. He wasn't talking about Erev li b'shevach means place the fruit in the shayva. He was saying take the fruit that's in the shayva. Then it would make a difference between if it's his fruit or if it's his friend's fruit. One brisa says it does work. That's because it was his own fruit, the shliach's fruit. Other Bryce says that it wasn't. Okay, let's leave it over here.
We're just getting started.
Yeah.
It's rolling.
Hey, go on.
It's so much fun.
Want to go further?
Yeah, why not? It's such a blast.
Someone that says, I didn't finish the preparation, but I will try it. Aimer, someone that says, Kisvu get u'tanuli ishti. So the emphasis here is on the word get.
You're fed. You should be happy.
What's wrong?
You didn't prepare it, he's pressuring you. I said, that's not right.
Okay, we'll stop if we get stuck. Kisvu get u'tanuli ishti. Write a get
Have faith.
and
Have faith in your teacher.
give it to my wife. Now he used the word get. Now originally the word get did not always mean a divorce. Get could mean any document. But or he says, and Geshua, I'm sorry, Geshua, and he divorces her. Kisvui geres etanula. If he says write a letter and give it to her, they could write it and they could give it, and it's considered divorced. Patrua means to release her, yeah. Parnasua, support her. Asela kanimas, do what's in style. Asila karoi, do what's appropriate. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that it's a get. He's using these expressions. It wasn't clear enough that the agent should start preparing a get because he said they used any of those expressions of send her away, abandon her. How do they explain terachua? Banish her? Okay. Then that's considered good. They could write it and they could give it, and it's considered a get.
How is sustaining her insinuating?
Yeah.
He's not
Maybe it means that she's out of my. Someone else. Patrua.
She's your problem.
Release her. Parnasua, sustain her. Asula kanimas, do what's in style. Asula karei, do what's appropriate. Play armaklum, then it's nothing. Okay. Now what happened over here is that the Mishnah didn't say that. The Mishnah did say Parnasua, Asula kanimas, Asula karei. All of those were nothing. Exactly like we learned in the Mishnah. Tanya was starting in a brayse. Rav Nassan says, Patrua Zvarav Kayamin. If you say Patrua, then that means release her. And that means she's divorced. Pitrua, but if you say exempt her, Layamar Klum, that's nothing. Because exempt her doesn't mean that she's released from the marriage. Exempt her just means that she doesn't have to pay. Correct me if I'm saying something incorrect.
Great.
Amar Rava says, Rab Nassan de Bavlahu, Rab Nassan is from Babylonia, Vidiak bein Pitrua lepatrua. And that's why he's being so specific between the Pitrua or Patrua. Tana Didan, but our Tana, the Bar Eretz Yisraelu Leidayak. But our Tana that comes from Israel, he doesn't have that difference. Now, what exactly does that mean? In Bavel, they would sometimes speak a clear Hebrew, they would sometimes speak a clear Aramaic. So therefore, they had two languages very clear. But in Eretz Yisrael, they always spoke in Hebrew. They didn't make a difference between Patrua or Pitrua. Rashi must have a different gears over here. Because he's saying Pitrua is the one that works and Patrua doesn't work. We said the opposite. Okay. Ibailahu. What is that?
Jeff had a good line.
What is that?
Tomato,
All right. All right. Ibailahu. I had a question. I'm surprised that Rashi's saying this. I thought in Eretz Yisrael they also spoke Aramaic.
Only the ones that spoke Aramaic.
I thought it was common that they spoke Aramaic. I mean, the Talmud Yerushalmi is all Aramaic. Maybe it's a different sort of Aramaic. Rashi is saying it's Hebrew. You don't have to learn that it's Hebrew. You could learn that it's that it's the other Aramaic that's in Babel. In Babel they had a different Aramaic. I'm not sure. I didn't look into the commentaries. Okay. Ibailo, they asked you a question. Haitziyua, take her out. Mahu, what's the din? Does that mean that he's saying divorce her? Azvua, that means like forsake her.
Let's take her to the mall.
Does that mean that he wants them to divorce her, to write the get? Hetirua, release her. Mahu, what's the din? Anichua, leave her alone, I guess. Mahu, what's the din? Haluala, raise her up. Mahu, asula kadas, do according to the law. Mahu, like give her the law. We can answer one of them. The Tanya was starting in a brisa. Asula kadas, do her according to the law. Asula kanimas, do what's in style. Asula karai lo yamar klum. That doesn't work. So which one are we going to get from here? Asula kadas. That kadas, when he says do according to the law, that doesn't mean that he means divorce her. Okay, let's leave it over there.
Woo! Oh, Smith, can I get you sushi?
Please, that's what's in shit.
Can I get you sushi?
Okay, have a good night.
I want to say, first of all, congratulations to everybody here with Held.